Hi, Taylor Ross. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. We are so excited to have you in Women in Golf and to do a little quick intro on who you are, what you're up to, so all of our kind of community and ladies know where you're from. You are the Director of Youth Instruction and Director of Fun at the Country Club of Jackson, Mississippi. So we can't wait to dive into how you even got there and
Yeah,
then where you're headed with all this. So thank you for being here.
yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, we always like to start with a little background on how you got into the sport, when you started, and how you were exposed to it.
Yeah, so I got into it strictly because my mom kind of signed me up for a Girl Scout camp, and it was get the badge, get as many badges as you possibly can. So I did a little camp. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I did a summer camp, and they kind of just told her she kind of has natural ability. I was the child who played every sport,
Yeah.
travel soccer and basketball and softball, just all the things, and after that, I kind of just stuck with it. Don't have any really family in the game. My parents
Hmm.
didn't play. It was just me going out there, and I ended up just taking some lessons and playing all through my junior career. Had a couple offers to play in college, but decided to kind of withgo those after a serious competitive junior career and just wanting to be a normal student. So I ended up at Mississippi State University, and they have a PGA school there. So I ended up going through the professional golf management school at
Hmm.
Mississippi State and graduating, and now I'm a full-time PGA golf professional.
I love that. So, what
It's a
started
lot.
out as a Girl Scout badge has gotten you here, and now your career is,
Yeah.
I mean, in golf. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
And then, I think you've got a whole different element and probably some background even before you got to youth instruction. So, after school, um, like, what was your first job and was it in this space?
Yeah, so when you do the PGA school or the program, you have to do internships. So
Hmm.
I went home, did my first internship, and basically just worked in the golf shop behind the counter for 3 months during the summer. And it wasn't ideal. It wasn't great. So my second two, I did at the exact same golf course. I did it at Mossy Oak in West Point, Mississippi. It's about 20 minutes from Mississippi State. My husband was on the golf team at the time, so it just didn't make sense to go off and do a 6 month internship
Hmm.
a ridiculous place away. So ended up doing a 6 month there and kind of just had free reign to do whatever I wanted. Got really involved in merchandise. Absolutely loved doing that. Ended up doing my last internship there and basically just doing all sales and marketing. It's a golf destination. So I kind of did all sales and marketing for both courses. There's two right across the street from each other. So I did all golf lodging, golf tee times, dining reservations, all of that.
That's a
So
lot.
yeah, so I graduate December 2019. I go on full time there as sales and marketing manager. And then
Gosh.
about 4 weeks later, my husband gets a job offer in Jackson, Mississippi, and it was kind of like we gotta go. So
Yeah.
he got into the instruction side, and at the time I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew merchandise was kind of like a
Hmm.
passion of mine, and the Country Club of Jackson had an assistant role open. So it's one of the top courses in the Louisiana Mississippi area. So it just seemed like the perfect opportunity. Was the assistant, the third assistant, I guess, at the time. And then about 6 months later, was offered the lead assistant job. So kind of like jumped the ladder pretty quickly
Yeah.
to the lead assistant and realized very quickly that now looking back, not an ideal move for me. I spent the next 2 years basically just working all the time and
Hmm.
getting really, really burnt out and kind of questioning, was this the right move? Was this the right career choice? So much so that I actually considered completely leaving the golf industry completely And there's a lot of people, and especially members, that have no idea that I was in such a dark
Yeah.
place. And I mean, I put on a very good front at work, but the
Hmm.
hours that I was working, 6 days a week, not really knowing what day off I was going to have, kind of just
Yeah.
like a random Thursday here or a Friday here or a Tuesday here. And then Monday outing season is just you're working every single Monday, which is technically your
Usually your
guaranteed
day
off
off, right?
day.
Yeah.
Yes, usually your day off. And
Hmm.
for a 23-year-old, it became an extremely lonely place to
Yeah.
go to work every single day, and ended up just faking it for a long time until I
Hmm.
came to the realization of something has to change.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really any willingness on the side of staying in that industry to kind of give and take some.
Yeah.
Definitely gave them options of if like I can get a couple more things, then like I will stay. But I mean, we had made absolutely no friends since moving here. I basically just worked, and a lot of people don't
Yeah.
realize that during COVID, like we were open 6 days a week. Every single day was a Saturday. So a lot of people had some time off during COVID where I ended up just working myself straight into the ground. So
Yeah.
kind of came to the realization that if they weren't going to be willing to do anything, like I was going to have to take it into my own hands of this is not the lifestyle I want to live. My home life had like my husband and I just weren't spending a lot of time together. I didn't have any friends. The days that I worked,
Yeah.
he had off. The days that I had off, he worked. So I was spending a lot of time alone, and just started looking at other options, interviewed and had some job offers outside of the golf industry. Luckily, I graduated with a marketing degree from Mississippi
Hmm.
State. So I was like, well, I guess I'll put that to use in some
Yeah.
aspect. So kind of came to the realization that leaving the golf industry was kind of my only out
Hmm.
until my husband and I kind of sat down, and he basically said, I cannot do the junior program alone. It is expanding quicker than I thought it
Hmm.
would. What would you feel about coming and doing full-time junior golf instruction? And at first I was like, this is not me. Like, I went to school to be a merchandiser, and that was my
Yeah.
passion. Like, I gave some kids lessons, mostly to little girls, but I did
Hmm.
not do junior golf full time. And I kind of was like, the part that was hard for me to step away and why I didn't just jump into that is because I'd made so many relationships in the 2.5 years that I'd been at the country club, and
Hmm.
it like pained me to have to feel the need of telling this little girl like this is going to be
Oh,
your last golf lesson. And just
yeah.
the heartstrings that I had, I was like, I just can't tell a lot of these girls, because if I truly left, a lot of them would quit golf instantly.
Yeah.
So ended up going on full time last June. I ended up staying in that assistant role from about February to June, giving
Hmm.
them kind of time and space to potentially find somebody. And then once June 1st came, completely stepped down out of the golf operations side and into the teaching side. And ever since then, it's been absolutely incredible. I've learned a lot and figured out that I have a bigger purpose than working in the
Hmm.
golf shop 6 or 7 days a week.
Yeah. And just to like talk about that a little bit more, because you're one of the first people we've had on the Women in Golf series that's been on the operations side. And I definitely intend to get a few more people that are on that merchandising side, because it is fascinating that this is, I mean, golf is kind of a service and hospitality business. And to your point, and a few of your points, that I mean, you're working so many hours and you have to be there rain or shine. So it could be the slowest day ever. Like I always walk into the pro shop here and I feel so bad for everybody that's in there because it's like dead
Yeah.
and nobody's stepped foot in there, and but they've got to be there from sun up to sundown basically. So whether it's busy or not, and then piled on top of that are events that fall on your days off, like it's grueling, and especially if you live somewhere that has a little bit longer season, like there is just, I mean, you are living and breathing work. So,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think it's almost to your point also of kind of the expectations, right? That this is just the business you're in, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously so many businesses and positions have become remote, and it's, you see it even more with youth, right? And the expectation that there needs to be flexibility. And so you're in a world, or we're in a position for sure, that I've really had little to none just because of the expectation of being there
Yeah.
nonstop. So
Yeah.
I can see that that'd be so grueling.
I
That
think
would be
that
really
like
tough.
it doesn't have to be the way that it is, and I'm a very
Hmm.
strong believer that the golf shop does not have to be open 6:30 in the morning to 7 at night, and your members will start adapting because at the same I mean people would walk in and be like, "Do you live here?" Like it feels like it. I
Basically.
mean it truly feels like it, and it's kind of alarming that members could
Hmm.
catch on to how much I was there, and they were always
Yeah.
so sympathetic as well, and I mean, I truly believe it doesn't have to be the way that it is, but as my generation becomes the head golf pros,
Hmm.
I definitely think that there's going to be a very, very
Little
drastic
shift.
change
Yeah.
in what the golf shop quote hours look like because I mean,
Yeah.
it's it doesn't have to be the way that it is, and it's
Mm-mm.
sad that that's kind
Yeah.
of the way that it is right now, but
Especially from
for
like a
me, I'm like,
private for like a private course with membership, I could definitely foresee some things being more self-service, right? Like
yeah,
even setting up a tea time, I don't know. They're just between technology and I think everybody's willingness to be like, all right, great. If I just want to go walk at 7:30 at night and not keep somebody till I
yeah,
come in at, I think there's some, like to your point, I think some modernization and expectations that'll shift. But there's also just that lingering tradition of golf, right? Which with
yeah,
what comes of that is like a service level that's expected, and I think it is. I would just say, I mean, to your point, maybe an older generation that has those expectations, but so it'll be fascinating to see how that changes. But
yeah,
more importantly, I'm glad you've kind of shifted your role and now found youth instruction and director of fun, which I want to talk about a little bit too,
yeah.
because that sounds great and entertaining. And I think that encompasses probably more than youth. So, can you talk about just what you're up to right now between some of the youth programs and what you're in charge of putting together, the growth of that, and then how this whole director of fun came to fruition?
Yeah, yeah. So I stepped in full time with my husband June 1st of 2022, and that kind of was day one of summer camp. So we have a summer camp every single week in the summer. So we do 8 weeks straight, and we kind of alternate every other week. We have 3 to 6 year olds, and then the next week we'll have 7 to 13 year olds. And then I do all girls summer camps too. So it
Cool.
is strictly golf for an hour, and then we go inside and we decorate cookies and we paint and have ice cream and food and all the fun to really drive the girls side of it. You always
Hmm.
have the little boys, you always have the 3 to 6 year olds, but getting more girls between that age of 4 and 12 to come out
Hmm.
and very much so. I have two girls that help me, so it's not a guy helping me because that's kind of the what I want to create is an all girls atmosphere. And if you have a guy helping you, it kind of automatically turns them away. So I found some
Yeah.
girls that love to help and they come out. But I
Cool.
during not the summer or I guess in our off season, we do after
Hmm.
school programs every single week. So we do 3 to 6 year olds one day, we do all girls one day, and then 7 to 13 year olds one day. And I do
Cool.
all private lessons as well. So if I have a clinic, I normally have a private lesson before, clinic after school, private lessons after. So my off season looks a lot different. I basically
Hmm.
work every afternoon, couple hours here and there, and then in the summer it's basically all morning summer camp,
Yeah.
and then kind of go home and relax after that.
How cool. So I think that's something really neat. I mean, in terms of focusing in on building kind of the your female girl program, and especially that age bracket, which they probably get pulled into probably a few different directions. Some of it ends up being what high school sports and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, I think at that certain age, they have almost feel like they have to make a decision one way or other. So it's really cool to have a program where they've got a comfort level too, and they're not playing with a bunch of
Yeah,
boys, and they've got that option.
yeah.
Do they end up playing? Is there, and maybe it's co-ed at that age, is there an age in which the leagues, whether it's an interclub league or like the junior PGA, do they end up splitting into boys and girls at some point?
Um, like we have some girls that will come and do the 7 to 13-year-old age group because the siblings
Mm-hmm.
do it or
Yeah.
the pickup time is better for the parents. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times I don't really see the crossover unless the
Yeah.
girls are very into like the tomboy age.
Yeah.
That age is so hard. The girls are doing all the things, dance a couple days a week and
Yeah.
gymnastics and all of
Yeah.
travel soccer is a huge thing in Mississippi. So I have a lot of
Yeah.
girls who do travel soccer and all of that. So it we try. It's definitely open to co-ed. It's very
Mm-hmm.
co-ed 3 to 6 year olds, very much
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
They're not at the age where they really care that much at 3 to 6, but when you get to 7 and 13, it's just hard to find kids who are not involved in travel
A
soccer,
million
travel
other
baseball,
things. Yeah.
basketball, all the things. So
Yeah.
that program has grown the most, and that has been like the most rewarding part for us is we had, I think, 3 or 4 when my husband did it, and now we're up to like 12 or 13, which
Oh, that's
for us,
cool.
that's a big number to
It
keep
is.
involved.
Absolutely. That's really neat. And I just asked out of curiosity because I've got a bunch of boys, of course, so I don't even think about where the girls are playing and if there's, I mean, it sounds silly, but there's the junior PGA. Is there junior LPGA? I don't know.
No, there's
It
not.
doesn't sound
And
like there's
we,
is.
yeah, unfortunately, like in Mississippi, we just don't have enough kids that age
Yeah.
range to put together a team. I would love to, but we
Yeah.
just don't have enough kids that age to put together a team.
Yeah. Well, not yet, maybe. Hopefully
Not
down the
yet,
road.
yeah.
But I can see
Hopefully.
how there's just so many sports to compete with. So it's
Yeah,
probably a bit
so
more
many.
seasonal or tied to summer kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
activities and things like that, which make a lot of sense. So
Hmm.
talk about, and I can sense too, just in terms of what you've built out for the girls program and in terms of that golf segment, but then also going into kind of fun and arts and crafts and things like that in the afternoon. Um, your role as director of fun. So what exactly is that? And is it something you guys
Yeah.
created?
Yeah, so it's basically a job that was created for me slash another title, just something
Mm-hmm.
else for me to take on my plate.
Yeah.
But I kind of went to the general manager and said, all of these other country clubs that we kind of, I guess, compete with in the area, there's 2 other private clubs just up the road, and they're doing like Harry Potter night and charcuterie classes and all the things that
Yeah.
I'm like, we're the biggest club in Louisiana or Mississippi, and like, we're
Mm-hmm.
not doing these things. We are missing out on all of these kids
That's
doing all of
cool.
these things. And he basically was like, awesome, if you want to do it, then that's your new role. And it's just kind of turned into this director of fun. And I've been there almost 4 years now. And the kids know me, and it's basically
Yeah.
the same kids who are doing our junior program are now coming into the fun side. I did like
Mm-hmm.
a painting class for the girls. I've done a kids like candy charcuterie board class.
It's so
We've
cute.
done all the things. So it's been so much fun to kind of come up with different ideas and themed nights. And I do a
That's really
lot of
neat.
that in the fall. Not so much during the summer, just because I have so much time on my hands
Yeah.
during the summer. But a lot of that's during the fall.
Yeah. And so in terms of so the director of fun, and it sounds like you're creating these programs both for, I mean, it sounds like all kids. Is it only girls or is it's across the
Yeah, it's
board,
across the
right?
board. Kind of doing some things
Mm-hmm.
to involve. It's been so easy for me personally just to find stuff that little girls are interested in, but I've
Oh
definitely have
yeah.
parents like,
Mm-hmm.
when are you going to do something for the boys? It's just a lot harder to find stuff for
Yeah.
the boys that they're interested in. I had a lady who won, I think it's like the TLC Great Christmas Cookie Baking War. She's going to come over the
Oh
holidays and
cool.
do like her class that
Oh
she's
my
put
gosh.
together. But I'm like, boys can do it. They just aren't really interested in it. And I'm trying to find stuff that is
Mm-hmm.
interesting for little boys to come and do. But I
Right.
bring all these people in. I don't really do it myself. Like the girl who did the charcuterie class, I
Yeah.
basically put it all together. She came in and did it herself, and
Yeah.
it was so easy for me. But I think that you
That's
had asked the
cool.
question of if it's evolving. It's turning into like member
Mm-hmm.
wide stuff. When I did the kids charcuterie class,
Yeah.
I had parents like, when are you going to do an adult one? And kind of like the next week, I was like,
Right.
I need you to come back. And it was a massive hit. And people are already like, when are they
I bet
coming
it
back?
was.
So I try to do stuff that is
That's so
club
cool.
wide. And I think that it's a very
Mm-hmm.
seasonal job. It's about a 6 month job just because with the summer and
Sure.
spring, I have so much on my plate with junior golf that that kind of comes secondary,
Yeah.
but it's been such an easy transition because all the parents already know who I am and know the things that I'm doing, and they have
Yeah.
gotten so on board with how fun it's been.
Oh, that's cool. I don't doubt it. They're probably, like you said, coming to the table with ideas
Yeah,
too.
100%.
Um, it's so funny that you said that about finding things for the boys. So my boys typically go all summer in this outdoor camp. All they do is like fish, canoe, like it's very and play sports. Like that's all they are doing all summer outside. And this week I sent them to a baking camp, and I had the actually they're probably home soon, but I they were so excited to do this baking
That's
camp, and
fun.
they did it. It's cookies, but like they have it themed, so it's gaming themed. So I have a feeling they'll have like cookies and like certain game characters and things
Yeah.
like that. And my oldest is 10 and he was so excited. It was really bizarre because I was like, I don't know, they're probably not going to want to
Yeah.
do this, but it's something different. So you never
Never
know.
know. I
You
know, and I've
never
done
know.
things that I thought boys would sign up for and they haven't.
They don't.
But
Hmm.
I'm trying. It's a
You'll
very new
figure it out.
thing. It
It
kind of
is.
was like a last
It's so
October
fun.
thing with the Halloween bash that we do. It was like this is your first step into
Oh
it.
yeah.
So I think that this
Oh,
year it'll be a
cool.
lot different and more ideas. But
Hmm.
once we get past summer, I can kind
That's
of
so cool.
Pinterest some things that I can do. But right now,
Oh
I don't
yeah.
have time to breathe with how many
You can't
summer camps
think.
we
I'm
have.
sure you can't. No, no, I can't imagine. So when is your off season down there?
Um, Basically September through February. We're still very
Hmm.
active, but SEC football is massive here. And Ole Miss, Mississippi
Yeah.
State, everybody's gone every single weekend. Going back to kind of what we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
I would work football weekends that Ole Miss and Mississippi State were at home, and there would not be a single person on golf property. And
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like just sitting in my office,
No.
like, I'm here 7 to 7, and not a single person is even walking in this golf shop.
Yeah.
So it's very much once the
My
kids go back to
gosh.
school and football starts, it's kind of game over from then,
Yeah.
and then kind of pick back up. It depends if we have a decent February or not. This year we had a really nice February, and we were gung ho, but March is really the biggest
It's
start
nice.
to our season.
Is that Yeah, you've got a longer season than we have in
Yeah,
Cleveland. Ours doesn't start until like
yeah,
May, if we're lucky. That's so cool. So, two things, and I think one of them is you've got a really cool segment on Instagram that you interview some of the
yeah.
kids. So, can you talk a little bit about that? Because
Yeah.
it's super
Um,
cute.
so my husband had kind of gotten into the golf influencer world, had kind of realized that a lot of
Hmm.
people were using Instagram and TikTok and YouTube Reels for
Yeah.
growing their popularity or just their brand. And
Hmm.
he like wanted me to try to do that at first, and I mean, I could not come up with it, and I was like just all over the place with what to film, what to shoot, all of the
Hmm.
things. And I kind of had this idea of, I saw it on Instagram Reels actually. It was the Ohio State hockey team. And they have like a marketing girl
Yeah.
who, as they're walking in, she's just drilling them with questions and they're just answering like whatever comes to their mind. And I kind of thought how funny it would be to kind of do that with our children. I mean, I have unlimited content during the school year. These kids Tuesday,
100%.
Wednesday, Thursday. I asked try to ask 2 questions a week. That way, I can kind of constantly have content, and I basically just ask them
Yeah.
questions and see kind of what they have to say. I My very first one was who won the Masters, because it was the Tuesday after the Masters was over, and I mean, half the kids were like Tiger Woods and Scotty Scheffler and the
Yeah.
people who they don't know. And then the girl at the end was so
Right.
excited because her dad had actually gone and come back, and she didn't even say the
Oh,
name
cute.
correctly, but she was so excited. And I kind of just started going off of that and are just trying to think of more questions to ask the kids. And once school starts back up, I'll start it back
So
up. I just
cute.
have so many kids during summer
Yeah.
camp that don't really, they come to summer camp because it's
Right.
summer camp, not because they're interested in golf, so they wouldn't
Hmm.
really know. But once school starts back up,
Yeah.
I'll start asking the kids questions again, just the most authentic answers, the most off the wall answers, and the membership has absolutely loved it because it's just the most funny
I don't
things
doubt
that you
it.
could think of.
Oh, absolutely. It's so raw and they're so
Yeah.
cute. It is just
Yeah.
hilarious, like their answers and what conviction they have, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh
Okay.
gosh. But it is like kids are the funniest thing, so it's so neat to capture that. And I'm sure the parents and I think I'm sure they
Yeah.
appreciate it. It's really
Yeah,
cute.
I haven't had any parents
You should definitely
say
keep it
anything.
up.
I've had some parents like share it and be like, "Oh my gosh, like my child knew that answer." But I try to catch them like as authentic as possible. I won't tell them the question before I record them
Yeah.
because I don't want them to have a
Yeah.
different answer in their
Oh
mind.
yeah,
It's
any
very much like, "Come over
right.
here, let me interview you, go back to your segment," and
Cute.
then it's so funny.
Cute. I love it. Keep it up because it's precious. It really
Yeah.
is. That's awesome. So, I actually have two more questions
Okay.
for you. One, we always ask what your style is on the course and kind of off the course. So, what's your go-to kind of style for golf?
Right now I'm wearing nothing but like sleeveless golf dresses and tank tops
Mm-hmm.
and anything. It is like 97
It's
degree. I
hot.
think last week it was 99 and it felt like 105. So I'm just wearing
Oh my
like
gosh.
the minimal clothing that I can with
Most
looking
breathable.
professional.
Yeah.
So during the
Mm-hmm.
summer, it is just golf dresses and tank tops and skirts. Kind of in the off
Yeah.
season, it's more of like athletic tops and like Lululemon skirts
Mm-hmm.
and just as
Yeah.
basic as I possibly can, looking professional, but also like not the
Yeah.
true golf look. I think that
Yeah.
this generation has kind of gone away from collars, so if it is
Mm-hmm.
has sleeve, you don't have to wear a collar. So getting really creative, not
Yeah.
not necessarily t-shirt, but not also the typical golf shirt that isn't flattering, doesn't look
Yeah.
good. Just kind of coming up with
Yep.
different stuff that matches here and there. So very, very
I think that's
athletic.
fun. Yeah, and you probably live in athletic wear when
Yes,
you're
I literally have
in
like
terms
a
of a
tank
job that
top and
always
like
want to be
a sweatshirt
comfortable.
on today because it's just the easiest
Yep,
thing.
absolutely. And I think your profession lends you to be in what's
Yeah.
comfortable and obviously cool this time of year.
Yes, yes. It's freezing in my house because
Uh,
it's 100 degrees outside.
of course, I can't stand that like mix of air conditioning on a
Yeah,
hot day. It's just you're constantly on with
yeah.
layers. So one of my last questions is just, can you fill us in on where you're headed in terms of some of your goals for the program or anything upcoming that you're excited about?
Yeah, so basically, kind of whenever the kids go back to school, we've had three interns this summer from different PGA schools come, and we've really done a great job with finding kids that are coming back into golf. We offer out our
Mm-hmm.
intern schedule, and it's $20 for 2 hours, and it's basically just supervised play for the kids.
Cool.
And there has been so
Mm-hmm.
many kids that have done it this summer that used to play golf when I first got to the club or have grown out of it and now coming back. So my biggest goal for when they leave and school starts back is how to capitalize on the kids who are coming back to golf, how to keep them involved, how to keep them
Mm-hmm.
interested because our interns will go away, but those kids are still at the club in some capacity. So I don't want
Yeah.
them to lose the 3 months that they played all summer. So we're trying to figure out a program that keeps those kids coming back. But as far as like what's going up or coming up for us is just growing our junior program. We're really trying to create a junior academy with kids going to D1 schools. My husband has, I think, 6 or 7 kids in the
Yeah.
area who are already be looking at from D1 schools, winning AJGA
It's
tournaments, and
amazing.
just trying to keep them involved. We do a really good job with during the
Yeah.
summer or during the school year. They are my helpers, so the kids see what success
It's
they have
cool.
going on, and then see them coaching them, and very much a role models for them as well as us. But
It's really
growing
smart.
our program as much as possible. I think I said this earlier, but there's always going to be the 38, 3 to 6 year olds. There's always going to be little girls, but
Mm-hmm.
it's honing in on the 7 to 13 year olds and getting those kids to come out in the middle of the week. And it's a 1 hour practice once a week and just involving them as much as possible.
That's amazing. You're up to so much good, and it's fun that you've got your husband as kind of a partner in
Yeah.
crime in all of this. But it's I think you're doing a wonderful thing and trying to keep kids in the sport or get them exposed to it, especially young girls. And what that can look like for them is a really cool opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's so fun to kind of highlight you and what you're doing, and we can't wait to follow along. Not to mention the videos of
I know,
your
I know.
your
My
kids,
my purpose has
but
definitely come to light over the like recent months and just seeing the impact that
yeah,
I'm making on little girls and like I used to just dread having to give a lesson and now I'm like this could be the highlight of their week and the last thing I want to do is show
yeah,
up in a not great mood because it's hot outside when they've looked forward to seeing me.
yeah,
So purpose has definitely
yeah.
changed and going from
Hmm.
okay, fine, I won't leave the golf industry, I'll do this to like, I don't know if I could step away from
Yeah,
this role, has been very
yeah.
eye-opening for me.
You Well, it's cool. You can tell you've got a lot of passion and kind of drive behind this and supporting those kids and
Yeah.
girls. And I'm sure our conversation would have looked so much different had we met and spoke like a year
Yes.
ago versus today. So it's really cool. And I think it's neat to hear that there's some rough paths and like tough things in the industry, but like you've really found a spot for yourself
Yeah.
and really
Yeah.
impacting some wonderful
It's
people. So it's really
yeah, and
cool. It's a cool
it's
story.
been very depressing. I graduated with 8 other guys, and I think 4 of them are already out of the golf business completely because they unfortunately are on
Yay, they're
that
burnt out.
assistant job side and they're
Mm-hmm.
also realizing what I went through and I mean, it's just been so
Yeah.
nice to kind of go a different route and still be in the game because I mean, I grew up playing, I'm passionate
Yeah.
about it and yeah, I think that
Right.
it's going to change a lot in the next 5 to 10 years when people my age are becoming the head golf pro.
Yeah. Absolutely. That'll be probably a good shift for
Yes.
many.
Yeah.
So cool. So cool. Well, I can't thank you enough for
Yeah.
your time, and it'll be so fun to follow along, and we're excited to feature you on Women
Yeah,
in
thank
Golf.
you so much for having me.